begin discussing women and Kiddush on Shabbos. So there's really two sugyas that converge over here, which is women and Kiddush, which is sugya number one, and sugya number two, which is women and davening. Women and davening. So we have two sugyas that sort of get mushed together over here that we have to figure out as one is dependent upon the next. So before we begin, let's take a slight poll. This is what we mentioned yesterday. The Kitzur didn't mention it. That's where it came to mind. And we'll delve into it. Now let's take a slight poll. Everyone could vote about their cousins, that they know what they do, not about their, what? Right. Not about any family members. We don't want to get personal over here. But what do women do Shabbos morning?
Make Kiddush.
Women make Kiddush on? Grape juice. Yayin. Women make Kiddush in Yayin? So they don't eat till their husband comes home? She drinks coffee? What? What do people do? Eat.
They daven right before their husband. They daven as the husband walks in the door.
Daven till the husband's davening. What do you need? Yeah. So.
Let's be honest for a second.
Yeah. So right. So now that we had everyone's halachic areas, and we have one person who's saying what people actually do. What the overwhelming populace, what many people do. Again, you're telling me what goes on in your household.
One person saying the truth.
No, it's not truth. It was a poll. It was a poll. But the truth is, many people do what was suggested, which is, you ask many a woman, what do they do about Kiddush Shabbos morning? They say, what do you mean? My husband comes home and makes Kiddush. Well, what do you do until he comes home? I don't know. I eat. And what do you do about davening? Did I ask you if you had kavanah today? What are you bothering me for? No, do you daven? You ask me personal questions. Did you make a bracha on your water? I don't understand. No, they daven, they don't daven, and whatever. That is what goes on. And really the question is, it goes on in many, many places. And the question is there any source for that? Is there a way to do better? Is this completely misguided, etc.? So let's go through over here. Let's go through a little bit of the beautiful sugya of Kiddush. So we begin over here, Gemara Psachim, Daf Kuf Vav Amud Beis. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Yosef Amar Shmuel, Ta'am Einoi Mekadesh. Imachal lo yakdish kol halayla el machar kodim suda. That's Rashi. Ta'am Eino Mavdil. V'Rabba Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel, Ta'am Mekadesh v'Ta'am Mavdil. Amar Rava Hilchasa Ta'am Mekadesh v'Ta'am Mavdil. Based off of this comes along the Beis Yosef and Reish Ayin Aleph. And he says that even though the maskana is Tam Mekadesh, Lemaisa sounds like Lechatchila, you should not be eating before you make any Kiddush. Mideloy Amrina an Toyim va'acher kach Mekadesh. Which the wording of the Gemara is a little bothersome, and I know many of you were trying to get me to stop and translate. But says the Beis Yosef, yes, the words of the Gemara are bothersome. Because the Gemara sounds like it's handling the B'di'evet. That if you were Tam, now you could still be Mekadesh. Says the Beis Yosef, why doesn't it say Toyim and then be Mekadesh? It sounds like it is not Lechatchila to be Toyim before being Mekadesh. There's another Gemara in Psachim Daf Kofei Amud Aleph. And the Gemara there discusses that it's a large Isser, a severe Isser, an Isser Chamer, Lishtais Koidim Havdalah. But you could drink water. Very important. That number one, you're not allowed to drink or eat before Kiddush Havdalah. Before Havdalah, you could drink water, says the Gemara. Kol hatayim klum kodim sheyavdil, Hashem yirachim. Misasai ba'sachra, sachra is kosher shebemisim, says the Gemara Brachos. Sachra is, I think, art school's word, it's constriction. It's basically you can't breathe. The Gemara Brachos, I grabbed it just saw last week, says, what is Misa ba'sachra? It says, if you have the mashal the Gemara gives, interesting, the Gemara gives a mashal for this one. It says, tu mishalim. It says you have a wool that's caught in thorns, and you have to pull the wool out. That is misa ba'sachra for your neshama, chas v'shalom. Or if you have a rope and you have a hole that's too small for the rope, and you got to try to shtup the rope through, that's Misa Sacha for your Neshama. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like of all things, like of all the Averas, like Rabbi, leave me alone. It just ate before Havdalah. Okay, yeah. No, this is the Fakert way. This is Havdalah it's talking about. Gemara is talking about Havdalah. But it is extreme. It is extreme. Rabbanan Dvei Ravashi lo kapti amaya. They were namak bin amaya, and that is lamaisa the halacha that you're allowed to drink water before Havdalah. Why do we see that you're allowed to drink water before Havdalah? Because comes along the Rashbam, this Gemara Psachim, and he says, Aval kame kedusha, those words in small of the Rashbam, kapti, you're not allowed to even drink water, which this is, the world of misconceptions, I think this is high. If you ask the average person, no, just water. It's just water. No, I'm allowed to drink water whenever I want. It's never an issur to drink water. You know what the proof is? You don't have to even make a bracha sometimes on water. It's never allowed to drink water wherever you want. I don't know what the raya is. I don't know. Now, happens to be, if it's one of those unique cases that you wouldn't make a bracha on it, the place can do a handle, then maybe you would be allowed to drink it. Because if you're not making a bracha on the water, that means you're not drinking it for the water purposes. You're just drinking it for other purposes, which are very difficult. Like right now, I'm about to ask for something to drink. Does that mean that I'm thirsty? Yeah, segue. Does that mean I'm talking about water? Does that mean I'm thirsty? I'm parched? You make a bracha, Baruch Hashem. I don't have the shaila. We've made the shackle, but. Yeah, no, so I don't have the shayla because we've been drinking, Baruch Hashem. But anyways, so before Kiddush, you're not allowed to have any water. You're not allowed to have any water. Comes on the Paiskim. Say the Paiskim, Nachliku HaPaiskim b'kavanas devi Rambam l'gabi shtiyas mayim kodim Kiddush. Because the problem is there is a Rambam. And the Rambam sounds like you could drink water. So the Rashbam said, thank you very much. The Rashbam said, you're not allowed to drink any water. The Rambam says, v'lishtais mayim, water. Pretty simple, right? Says the Magid Mishnah, the Rambam is matir kodim Kiddush. The Beis Yosef, who is also the Kesef Mishnah, says the Rambam means mayim mutter, haynu b'havdalah. Now, how you fit that into the words of the Rambam? Ayin sham. It's obviously not so simple. What? Yeah. So that's the machlekes. Comes on the Shulchan Aruch. Reish, Ayin, Aleph, Sif, Dalid. A halacha that many don't want to hear. Aser, Litaim, Klum, Koidim, Sheyikadesh, Afilu, Mayim. You're not allowed to have anything, even water. Va'afilu hischum b'aydiyaim zarach la'afsik. Shabaris ma'apakadesh, that's a nayasiga. Regarding Havdalah, Lamaisa we paskin, that you're allowed to have water before you make Havdalah. So, water is allowed for Havdalah, water is not allowed before Kiddush.
Could clarify either way if we're talking about Kiddush of the night or...
Good, very good. The next Marmakim comes along. And the next Marmakim says, that what? Kiddush Hayoim is the same thing as Kiddush Halayla. And you're not allowed to drink Aser Litim Afilu Mayim Koidim Kiddush. Komakayim Koidim Hatfila. Oh, so now Shabbos day, things are going to change. Because before you daven, the Chiyuv of Kiddush did not start. Therefore, you're going to be allowed to drink water like every day. Says the Shulchan Aruch on Reish Pei Tesef Aleph. Miu lishtais mayim ba'boiker koidim tefila mutter. Why? Neshadayin lechal alav chayvas Kiddush. But that doesn't mean you're allowed to drink water before Kiddush. That means there is no Chiyuv Kiddush yet, so you can drink water. What's the nafkamina? The nafkamina is once you daven Shachris, we paskin, now you have a Chiyuv Kiddush. Once you daven Shachris, you cannot drink water anymore. You cannot. You can make Kiddush. People might get emotionally upset if you want to go make Kiddush after Shachris. But lahalacha, it's mutter to make Kiddush after Shachris. It is usher to drink water after Shachris. If one needs to drink water after Shachris, he has to make Kiddush before drinking water. Again, there are unique cases of like a Bal Kairei. Sometimes that if his mom is drinking it not for the water purposes, just because he's parched, and therefore he wouldn't make a bracha, some are makel to let such a Bal Kairei drink water. Some are violently opposed. Some don't know whether the reason they're drinking it is because they're parched or they really want the water, and therefore maybe they shouldn't be doing it. But that is the one time that maybe not. So what's the halacha? Halacha is, and this is just parenthetically, was discussing Halakis Neiros this morning, comes to mind as well. Halakis Neiros Friday night, woman who lights candles, she cannot drink. She cannot drink. Why could she not drink? Because she did not make Kiddush. Once you're Makabel Shabbos, before Kiddush Friday night, before Kiddush Shabbos day, you cannot drink, you cannot eat, nothing, including water. Mayim, before Havdalah, water before Havdalah is allowed. Shabbos morning, which is what we're about to get into, Shabbos morning, before the Chi of Kiddush begins, then you're allowed to drink water, just like you could do on any day before the Chi of Kiddush begins, because there's no Chi of Kiddush on a Tuesday. And therefore, what are you allowed to drink before davening? Well, you're allowed to drink, as we spoke about, coffee, tea, maybe a little sugar and milk, drinks that are not gaiva induced. Just going back to Friday night, because it's a very common shayla, many a women have this issue. They want to drink something. Maybe they're nursing, maybe they're pregnant, maybe just not. Are they allowed to? The answer is no, they're not allowed to. There are some, I don't have the Maramuk in front of me, that are makel for a woman to have water after they light before Shkia. B'makim Hatzerech. B'makim Hatzerech, I believe it's based on Yena Shita of the Rambam actually, and there are some places. Now, but what could a woman do? Let's just give an eitzah. Let's give an eitzah over here. So first of all, what could a woman do? Drink before they light candles. Thank you, Rabbi. That didn't help. So what could a woman do? If she's about to light candles, let's go to the case of nursing or pregnant, okay? So cases that she mamish needs to drink, okay? She's about to light candles and she wants to drink. She could light candles with a tanai. This is why I came up speaking about this morning. You're allowed to light candles with a tanai that you're not makabel Shabbos. Then she could drink and then be makabel Shabbos. For example, let's say she's nursing the baby right after she lights candles and she knows every time she nurses she needs to drink. Kacha. That's the way many women are. So what does she want to do? So she'll light candles, then she'll nurse the baby, take her whatever amount of time, and then she'll be makabel Shabbos, obviously before Shkia. Obviously you have to be makabel Shabbos before Shkia, you have to stop drinking before Shkia, but that is an eitzah for women. So now, so far we're clear? That was the easy part. Now, parenthetically, obviously...
They technically make Kiddush before Shkia, then also they took on Shabbos, right?
That's not so simple. The answer is technically yes. Technically yes. Technically, once you're Makabel Shabbos, it's Shabbos. Once it's Shabbos, you can make Kiddush, right? If you make early Shabbos, can you make Kiddush? Yeah, why not? Why not? So that is another eitzah. There's another eitzah, but you get involved in a little bit of an issue. Because they're not eating. Kiddush Welcome Suda, which is a whole new parsha. Anytime you make Kiddush, you have to have a Suda. So if they're going to go make Kiddush after they light candles, say, okay, great, I'll have a cup of grape juice. What's wrong? So I have a cup of grape juice. And then what? And have a piece of cake? First of all, then you do Kiddush Welcome Suda Friday night on Mizainis. We want to be makbid Friday night on Deraisa to have lechem. Your Moshe is only Shabbos day. Pashtas Rav Moshe only helps you Shabbos day, that you don't need Kiddush and Suda are two separate dinim. Pashtas, I have to look at it, I believe it only helps you Shabbos day. But anyways, that's why the eitzah of making Kiddush Friday night is not so given for a woman. But let's continue. So now, we have 14 minutes, let's continue. What goes on with women in the morning? So now, we're going to go, over here in the Mar Makayim, we jump straight into the Paiskim, because it's very, very complicated. So, says the Mishnah Berurah over here, Mishnah Berurah says that a woman has a chiyuv just like a man. Mishnah Berurah is machmir that a woman has to daven shachris, a woman has to daven mincha. It sounds even like a woman should daven ma'ariv according to the Mishnah Berurah, but she definitely has to. Mishnah Berurah holds she has a chiyuv to daven shachris mincha. What does it mean chiyuv? The whole thing, just like a man. Maybe we'll mention in a moment what more of a lamaisa. That's what Mishnah Berurah writes. And therefore, what's the chiv of kiddush for a woman? Just like a man. Calls it ladasa. Rambam says in Mishnah Berurah, Shrak zimane atfila hima devrei seifrim, aval ikar mitzvah tfila hima natayra. Dasa Ramban, ikar mitzvah devrei seifrim. Akishmak Mishnah Berurah. Shuzman grama v'nasha beturais. Mikol mitzvah seishuzman grama fil devrei seifrim. Afal pikin chayvu oisan betfila shachris umincha kimai anashim. Hayel utfila hi ba'koshas rachamim, which is the Gemara. The Gemara says a woman needed to daven. Why? Because ba'koshas rachamim. V'chein ikar kikein das roiva apaisiv v'chein ichriya v'sefer shagas aryeh. Very interesting Mishnah Berurah quoting shagas aryeh. Kan yesh li zayir lenashim sheispalu yud ches v'nochen gamkin shekabel leim al malchus shamayim shema then shamu al kavanu shema Yisrael, etc., etc. However, there are those that argue. And now in this case, be careful. Because if you're makel, you end up with a chumrah. If you makel and you say, no, a woman doesn't have to daven, as we're about to see, what does she do? She has to say bakoshas rachamim. What's a bakoshas rachamim? Thank you Hashem that I'm alive. That's a bakoshas rachamim. Moidani lefanecha. That's it. She's yotzei zayin her chiyuv tefillah for the day. But that means she finished davening. Not only she can't do anything. She can't even have water now. If you hold like the Mishnah Berurah that she's like a man, okay, so she wakes up, she says brachas, she does what she wants, just like I could do. And if I want to have a cup of coffee, I have to say brachas, there's no problem. Whether you should walk into shul with it or not and get yelled at or not, that's a different story. Choose your right shul before you walk in with a coffee. But Lamaisa, you're mutter to drink your coffee, certainly till Baruch Shamar. And Lamaisa, most places can hold, you can drink it straight till Yishtabach. You just have an issue with the bracha achrayna. You should bracha achrayna. Okay, so open your button in your shirt and remember to make a bracha achrayna. I don't know, have a shaymer remind you. But the drinking itself, the pashtus says we paskin is not a hefsek. The bracha is the hefsek. But either way, back to our story over here. So now, so she could drink also. Parenthetically, what about eating? We're talking about drinking. What about eating? What about eating? Could yeah. No, not during davening. Could she? Sounds like at the moment we're talking about drinking because before davening, there's an isser to eat. That's meaning that was the hanacha before we started. Meaning we're discussing drinking because drinking is where there is a heter before davening, but an isser after davening before kiddush. That's drinking. That's called water. Coffee, tea without sugar, according to Mishnah Berurah. We'll say coffee, tea with sugar and milk, according to Allah Lamaisa. But once it comes to food, everyone holds that's aser. That's why we got into this because in Kitzur we just learned that eating before davening is aser. Again, if one is chalash, what does he do? Daven b'yechidus in your house, then you could eat, obviously with Kiddush because it's Shabbos. Then go to shul and listen to Shachris, to be Yotzei Zayin, Kabbalah Malchus Shemayim, and Amins, v'chulu, and then move on. Obviously, your sounds like it's a little bit complicated. Moving right along, we flip over the page and comes on the Pri Megadim. It's a Pri Megadim that says, Nashim Yotzei Be'ezeh Ba'akash, K'moshkasa Magen Avram, Imkein, L'didu Chamer, V'asur L'shas Ba'boker Mayim, Acher Shamar K'sas Ba'akasha, Havigigiyah Chayves Kiddush, says the Pri Megadim, the Chazman we just said. Once she makes a Ba'akasha, now, what's the story? The story is she has the Chiyah of Kiddush. Comes along the Shmir Shabbos Kilchasai in Ha'ara Mem Vav in Perek Nun Beis. Now this is in the Chelik Beis, which he has to arpik pukim into the level of veracity towards Chelik Aleph. But listen, it's all we have, and it seems like we're never going to have a new Chelik Beis, so we're just going to have to take what we have. It says over there, Sarach Leimar, Tanu Dav Kashamar Ezeshi Tfila, Im Ein Bedaso Isha Lotis Bibakasha. Then mutalishas cham and avki amru bakasha. Says the Heilige Rebbe, even if she davened a bakasha, so she was yaitze, but if she plans on davening Shemayin Esrei, then she's allowed to put herself into the Mishnah Berurah's camp. I'll say even further, it's not on this paper, but the Heilige Mafsel Yo says, let's say every day of the week she doesn't daven Shemona Esrei. She doesn't have the time, she doesn't daven. So she says about Kasha. But on Shabbos, punkt is the one time she has time. So now we're going to nail her because she says, Mafsel Yo, if she has in mind, and by the mere fact that she plans on davening, that means she has in mind, then he says she's allowed to keep on drinking. But again, all this is helping us is for coffee, tea, and water. Very good. Chaim Kanievsky says the same thing. If she davens every Shabbos, then that is perfectly fine. Now, comes along the Heilige Rebbe. So before we get to Ramesha Feinstein and Ladder Paiskim, what's going on over here? What's going on over here? There's not much hope, and it sounds like what does a woman do? She wakes up, does the exact same thing that a man does. She wants a coffee, she can have a coffee. Once she davens, nothing. She can't put water in her mouth until Kiddush. Obviously, it's Shabbos morning, so she can just make Kiddush. And maybe she doesn't even need them in Zaynes. Maybe, yeah, it's a different discussion. But she can just make Kiddush, which is true. But for whatever its reason, whether there's validity to it or not, you tell the average woman, what's the big deal? You said Maidani, so just take out a cup of grape juice. Maidani to Bakash's Rachman. Yeah, he's thanking Hashem, and if you're doing it with a half a brain, you say one bracha if you don't want to say that. Yeah, whatever it is. He said, thank you to Hashem for making him alive. Give me another day. Most women say brachas. They say one level of bracha. They say a bracha. They say this. Any bracha that you say already has a bakasha in it. But in a chanami, she should pasha say more than just maidani. But the answer is any Jewish person is doing more than that. It's at the very minimum. It's the very minimum. So it says, yeah, my wife doesn't daven. She nothing. No, wait, she doesn't say maidani. She doesn't have a moment of thought that she's alive. Most, yeah, I hope at least. At that very little. But again, so far, do we have any heter to eat? I just want to make everything clear over here. There's no heter to eat. She cannot have a piece of cake in the morning, just like you cannot have a piece of cake. She's a woman. What does that give her that? What? Whether or not she davened. And if she davened, make Kiddush. You don't want to make Kiddush, wait for your husband. Comes along the Heilige Rebbe, Ramosha Feinstein. It says, Ramosha Moyer Dika Kiddush. It's a Ramosha Dika Kiddush. Says, Ramosha Lanias Daiti. Be'ishtoi Einoi Tzricha Lekadesh. Why not? What just happened? Just throughout the whole Shulchan Aruch. Tarei hi mishubedes lebayla. She has a shiba. She has a ksuba. Her ksuba state. She has to eat with her husband. Lechol davka ima'ai. Her husband's not allowed to eat. And he can't have a meal before he davens. She can't either eat. Thank you. Exactly. Because you have no chiv suda, therefore you're allowed to eat. What are you allowed to eat? Everything. Do I care if you daven, if you don't daven, if you're going to daven? According to Rav Moshe Feinstein, it's irrelevant. Daven, don't daven, it's all beautiful, but you're allowed to eat as much as you want. Comes on the Shmir Shabbos, and over here, Rav Zalman was not happy. Shamati from Rav Zalman, Divrei Igros Moshe Tzarech Iyon. Why? You're right, she has a shiba to have a suda with her husband. That means she can't sit down and have a snack? Of course she could. And if you can't make her shiba, he says, says her some Zalman, Ramesha, this is too much. This is too much. Comes on the Heilige Rav David. So we're going to get to that. We'll see if we get there. Comes along the Rav David Feinstein in V'dibartom. Now, again, let's be clear. The Dibartom was not written by Rav David Feinstein. It was written by a Talmud. I kept those words in here for a reason. Shamati me'arav hagoyin Rosh Hashiva Rav David. He's quoting Rav David. The way that the Sefer works, it's a conversation that a Talmud had with the Rebbe, and then he transcribed it. Shmir Shabbos, that's Rosh Zalman Auerbach. Shmir Shabbos is a Neubert. Was the Talmud of the Shmir Shabbos, and in the footnotes he writes what he heard from Rosh Zalman, and Rosh Zalman read through the whole thing, and he wrote his Haskama on the Sefer. It's Mekubal in the Velt that everything in the Shmir Shabbos is also Rosh Zalman. If you look at the beginning, I don't have mine here. If you look at the opening page over there, Rosh Zalman writes a very strong Haskama. They say that B'Seif Chai, the last 7 years of Rosh Zalman's life, it's the more you learn, the bigger pillow this is. They say the last 7 years of his life, second Seder, Rosh Zalman relearned Hilchos Shabbos with the Sefer Shmir Shabbos for 7 years. For 7 years. He sat there learning Hilchos Shabbos with the Sefer Shmir Shabbos. That's and you wrote. It came out originally as a separate Sefer called Tikkunim Umiluim. Now they incorporated all his corrections as footnotes in the Sefer. That's what that's what they say, and that's where he wrote in the beginning that he read through the whole thing in Gavaldik. That's why I was mentioning this is in Chelik Beis. The second chelik of the Shmir Shabbos is not the same level as the first chelik. It never was reprinted, etc., etc. Comes along Rav David, and Rav David explains, "Ulinin ishtai ayin sham divrei aviv zatzal b'gers Moshe anal near the ikers farasai havimad loy tiknu zman suda leisha ad zman suda lebayla." V'kivan delegabi abalinu chayiv v'kiddush ad achar zman tzila shachris l'chein lo ichpat land b'mad mutter litam kol shud b'neisus of also v'etzim zman suda. V'kivan delek zman chiv suda leisha kodim bayla hu adin delochal chiv kiddush ad achar tzila shachris shal bayla. 1 second. Calls a yitachin yoiser m'naktin de be'etzim mutter suda achar shachris. L'chein shayach lochol Allah v'chiv ma she'ein ba'boker kon tefila in zman suda mamish. Memilo chpalon b'mad yachol litoim d'seif seif in zman suda. He's answering Rosh Zalman if you're listening. Memilo lochalo bayil chiv suda umuvan tadasik Moshe adin lochal isha the iser lachol b'li kiddush mipnei zeh. So Rav David explains, you can look at it carefully. He's answering Rishon Zalman's taina about Te'ima. Good. Rameir, we're going to get to your question in 1 second. Comes along the Sefer Kavod Va'ineg Shabbos, that's called, that's Rav Simcha Bunim Cohen, called The Honor and Joy of Shabbos. I don't know what's called, Sanctity of Shabbos, which one of those? And he says, Shamati from Ramoshe, Ta'afilu im ha'abal kvar espalo shachris, motor lo lechabli kiddush. V'isser maschil acher shabal kvar gomer filas musaf. What's pshat? Again, if you go with the shibud, and if you go in the world of chiyuvim, when does the chiyuv begin? Chiyuv begins when he finishes shachris. But he's explaining, which he heard from Ramoshe, he says, which is very mistaver, very good the chiyuv of the husband begins. But in practicality, my husband's at home. So very good that he in shul now has a chiyuv kiddush. But I have a chiyuv to eat with him, and he's in shul. So in Balabatishkeit, I can't eat until he comes home. And therefore he says, until achar gemar musaf. Lamaisa. Yeah, so there are those that explain that what he means is he walks in the door. He doesn't say walk into the door. Who says? The whole thing he argues on. Even Musaf he argues on. Well, what does he say? What does he say? No, Pashas, he's talking about after Shachris. That's where Rav David explained. He's Rashi Lekadish. Good. That's the next level. There's many levels how to understand the tshuva. You have to learn the tshuva properly. No. So I'm answering you is that the reason why he's writing he heard from Moshe Musaf is to answer that taina. Is because if you finish Musaf and he comes straight home, that's one thing. But what happens if I write till he comes home? What does that mean? He takes 42 stops on the way home. That's why yesterday we mentioned till he comes home and has the meal. That's you come home and have the meal. If you're going to go and have 12 stops, those last 12 stops will not be. Lamaisa, they quote Rav Yashiv, which is I found fascinating. He's a Meiko like Ramoshe, even more than Ramoshe. He's Meiko like Ramoshe, and then he says, what about kids? What about girls? Says Rav Yashiv, the daughters as well. A daughter can't eat without the father. He says the same svara of Ramoshe is on the children as well. Says Rav Yashiv, a daughter, a 14-year-old girl, is the same exact thing. She doesn't eat until her father comes home, and therefore she's allowed to eat indiscriminately. That's what it would sound like. That's what it would sound like the fear of Moshe. So now let's conclude. Good. Let's conclude. Okay, let's.
No, but the Kiddush is going against you're supposed to be making Kiddush eating with your Baal, and then you're making Kiddush yourself.
Correct. Now, I know we're late. Chaver, I know we're late. Give me 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes. Two points, and then we'll conclude. Point number one is, there are shitas, more of the Hasidish source, the Sefer Nishma Shabbos, of Harpinus, quotes that, hey, Agoyin HaKadosh, you don't have this in front of you, I'm sorry, Mebavov, that in front of him in Galatia, they held women have no chiyuv kiddush at all. The Minchas Yitzchak, Dayan Weiss, Minchas Yitzchak writes, B'shas Adchak, Kimatzarif the Das Torah, which is also Maram Chalava, B'shem Moirei Harashba. This is like real Torah Misinai. Dinashim Beturois Mikiddush Achos. They don't have a chiyuv kiddush in the morning. That's like this interesting shita, and if you ask like the Chassidish sources, they don't understand this whole conversation. Women don't make Kiddush Shabbos morning. What are you talking about? There's no Kiddush for a woman Shabbos morning. So there is that thought out there. Now we have Ramoshe. So what do you do Lamaisa? So Lamaisa, the last source over here is Rav Chaim Sheinberg, which L'chaira gets everyone. Truth is, at this point, you could stop and you could say, listen, you want to go with Mishnah Brura, you want to just go very simple halacha, the answer is, have a coffee, daven whatever you daven, make Kiddush and eat. That's simple Mishnah Brura. You want to go other side to Ramoshe, it's do whatever you want until your husband comes home. Maybe there's a level between husband comes home and whatever. Okay, so that level be makbid on. You want to be makbid on Shachris, on Musaf. Okay, but that gives the woman the liberty to eat breakfast. Rav Sheinberg came along and he gave a different eitzah. He said, Shabbos morning, really always, you could be Mekadesh on Chamar Medina. Now, it's not l'chatzchila, but if you did it, it works. That's a whole sig of Chamar Medina. Everyone agrees, though, if you're Mekadesh on Chamar Medina, whatever Chamar Medina is, Kiddush works. Says Rav Sheinberg, I'll give you an eitzah. I'll give you an eitzah. He says they should be mekadesh on coffee. And then she could go and eat. So then you just have to like play your shitas and like you're sort of good wherever you go. No. According to Ramesh, you don't need, you're not doing anything different. Good. So now when you tell us to women, you say, Kiddush, what does that mean? Kiddush and coffee, what do I have to do? Make your coffee, make a shahakol, and drink. That's Kiddush. Kiddush by day is not, you don't have to say Zachar and Tashev, pull out the whole Chumash, Sefer Torah, no sheikhs. Kiddush Shabbos day is the bracha. So you make, what's that, 100%. You make a shackle. There's one dot of a difference, they say, is maybe she should maybe fill it up, maybe she should put a drop more milk. Because if she's just going to have a dot of coffee, you're going to run into an issue. There's a din of a shear, right? You can't just have one dot, you have to drink it. Okay, so you're a little bit more. So really the only chilik is, so if let's say a woman doesn't drink coffee, so have a cup of orange juice. A cup of Shabbat orange juice, according to Moshe, is also Zayt Zayin. So the only chilik is, and then we'll play it out, is during the week, when you have your coffee and cake, or you have your juice and cake, which bracha do you make first? Cake. The cake, because the mezainis has a kedima. The only chilik is going to be on Shabbos morning. You make the shahakal on the coffee or the juice first. You drink it. How much do you drink mali lugmav? How much is mali lugmav? 1.75 ounces. Not so much. That just means a nice gulp. And then she has in mind for Kiddush. So now, whichever way you go, you sort of are good. You want to go all the way, they have no chiyuv Kiddush, forget about it. You want to go like Ramosha, it's probably before Shachris anyways. It's probably before Shachris anyways. And it's definitely before Musaf. And it's probably the time to eat between the husband finishes Musaf and comes home, that little window. No. Now you want to know, Lefi the strict Mishnah Brura, so what do you mean? She said about Kasha. And now she makes Kiddush. What's the problem? Mr. Brewer's happy also. Elamai, she's gonna go daven Shemona Esrei. Okay. So if a woman every single day daven Shemona Esrei, ulai efshir. But again, there's enough shitas to be semechan. And this eitzah is the eitzah that a woman should know about. Even if, let's say a woman says, no, I don't need it, it's okay, I can just have a coffee. A woman should know about it, because there's many times that at the end of the day, whether it's pregnancy, whether it's nursing, whether it's whatever the reason is, she wants to eat something. And then she just gets all messed up. So okay, it's true, she could just take out a bottle of grape juice, what's the big deal? And make kids drink grape juice. But if a woman's not holding there, this would be the eitzah from Rav Scheinberg.